Mademoiselle, and ça c'est deuxième Chanel moi. And today we're going to be talking about the history of Haiti and its independence, most importantly the untold truths, and we're going to be dissecting some of the lies and the common misconceptions about Haiti's independence. Now this video has been highly requested since I started this channel and I started delving into the politics, the history, the folklore, and everything like that. Now of course, before we get started, make sure you guys comment down below, where are you from? Even if you're not Haitian, I really want to know. Thank you guys so much for supporting this channel, and of course go and get your merchandise. I have so many new designs in the shop and I worked really hard on them, so I hope you guys like them. My favorite is my I don't twerk, I gooye shirt. Like, y'all, it's just so cute. Like, follow me on Instagram. I'll be dancing this shit. I'll be getting my little compa on or whatever. And of course, make sure you guys smash the like button, smash the subscribe button, smash every button you know that can help a sister out, because we on the road to 100K on this channel, okay? I want a second black, okay? So no again, okay? We gonna get this shit. The fuck? And of course, make sure you guys share this video and follow my main channel. So honestly, I have to tell you guys right now, if you are of Haitian descent and you are really into your culture, this video might upset you. You're probably gonna be very emotional and you're probably gonna be very angry. So I'm just gonna tell you right now, if you're in a real good mood, don't watch this video. There was so much that I had to uncover hearing from elders, just reading, watching documentaries and interviews, that I don't know if it's just me, but like just reading about any type of black people going through pain and misery makes me very sad. Like, I just cannot. And that's why this video kind of took so long, because like I would research for like an hour or two, then I would just get emotional, then I'd have to watch some rainbows and butterflies and shit like that and get a motherfucking drink. So I'm just warning you, everyone, get your tea, get your snacks, get your climas, get everything you need, because we're gonna be here for a while. This might be broken up into parts. I'm gonna see how well I can fit all this information into one video, and if I can't, it will be dissected. And after these videos, I'm going to start going over all of Haiti's presidents, from the first one being Jean-Jacques Dessalines, which is technically an emperor, but we're gonna get into all of that because Haiti's history is better than a Netflix series, sadder than anything you have ever heard before, and just the most tragic shit like ever. It's really a lot. So of course, because I know a lot of people are not going to watch this entire video, we're going to get into a lot of the misconceptions regarding the Haitian Revolution. I'm going to be trying to minimize some of the violence in this video to suit some people. It's pretty brutal shit, and of course I'm trying to get my monetization. Okay, motherfuckers working hard on this shit. L'agent, okay, music comme win, bruh. So I'm gonna try to tone it down for y'all. Just a notch. I know that the term is Native American, it's not Indian. Just to make things go faster, I'm probably going to fuck it up and say Indian sometimes, but I'm referring to Native Americans when I say Indian. First common misconception about Haiti's revolution is that Haiti won the revolution because they used voodoo. Now, this is ridiculously inaccurate. However, there were definitely lots of voodoo ceremonies as there are today. But all I gotta say is, if Haiti's voodoo was that powerful, why wouldn't they be able to do voodoo to get them out of their current situations? We gotta think. There was a voodoo ceremony, as we all know, led by Debunking, and that whole voodoo ceremony kicked off the revolution, etc. However, Haiti had been fighting for its independence since day one. Unlike a lot of other slave cultures, when it comes to Haiti, Haiti's slaves were the most uncooperative, I should say. From day one, they were fighting. From day one, they were revolting. They were losing, but they were fighting for a long time. There's so many failed revolutions that happened before the Grand Revolution started in 1791 and ended in 1804. For whatever reason, people kind of skip over this, or maybe it's not well documented, but you can find this. Of course, one of the main ones is regarding Vincent Oge. Hope I'm saying that right. Understand, I'm probably going to butcher a lot of names in here. Correct me if I'm wrong down below, and of course, feel free to add some information down below. Correct me, add some links, add some resources, add some more information, because we all need to know about where we come from, the history and the context, to love who we are, and most importantly, guide the next generation. So Vincent Oge was a mulatto. Now understand, in this video I'm going to be saying mulatto all the time, but mulatto is actually a very offensive term, but due to the time that we're talking about right now, it's really common. And mulatto means mixed. It is a person of black and white ancestry, and that's what they were referred to. They were also referred to the affranchis she, and there was other names for them as well, so I'm going to be using those words interchangeably. Vincent Oge was a mulatto who lobbied for Parisian assembly. By 1790, he was captured, tortured, and killed for leading this rebellion. There were definitely multiple uprisings before this. Now, when it comes to Haitians doing voodoo, we all know that it is a very prominent religion, as much as people like to deny that shit. Your uncle may be doing voodoo and you don't know it. Haiti has been ridiculously demonized because of this Haiti doing voodoo to gain independence rhetoric, and it's really, really annoying because this was started by some angry ass motherfucking French motherfuckers that got mad as fuck because they lost the motherfucking war. That's exactly where the hell that shit came from. We can imagine how mad they were when they lost to a bunch of slaves who had no weapons. Meanwhile, they had a whole bunch of fucking militia and weapons. Okay, so yes, that's where a lot of that started. And of course, that was heightened by the American occupation a couple of times in both DR and Haiti, that, you know, they would see zombies and then they took that shit in America, and then America made it into movies. I have a whole video about zombification and lots of videos about voodoo culture. You guys can check them out. They'll probably be linked down below, or you can just head to my channel and find it out. But it's really, really unfortunate because Haiti at the end of the day was never demonized or cursed because of that. There's so many things that led to them being the way they are today, and this needs to be discussed at full. It really annoys me seeing these little 5-minute fucking YouTube videos about Haiti's history or anyone's history, and people just kind of sum it up to make it like some short little clip shit so they could get a bunch of views. Yes, there were voodoo ceremonies. Yes, a lot of Haitians do practice the voodoo culture. However, that is not the reason they won. If that were the case, they'd be able to do a voodoo to get themselves out of their fucking situation. The next thing that you really need to understand the brutality of this revolution is that Haiti had the worst slavery in the Caribbean at the time, and most importantly probably in the entire world at the time. So bad that when people would lose wars or slaves would misbehave, they would send them to Haiti. Yeah, imagine everybody's participating in slavery, but when your slave is bad as fuck, oh, better yet, you lose a war, we gonna send you to Haiti. It was one of those things that was used as punishment. And adding to that point, they were literally the biggest slave population next to Jamaica that came in second, and they had twice Jamaica's slave population. And just to give you guys some numbers to reference, by the time the Haitian Revolution started, there were over 500,000 slaves in Haiti. When it comes to the mixed mulatto free black class, there was about 30,000, and then when it came to the whites on the island, there was about 30,000. Another thing that you guys have to keep in mind is that France didn't necessarily give a fuck for Haiti regarding, you know, living there and cohabitating with anyone. They just want to make their money, okay? Haiti was one of the most richest colonies, producing most of the world's sugar. They were also well known for their indigo, coffee, and cocoa. It was a very, very prosperous colony, and that's all they gave a fuck for, mining the land till God knows when. And that is why Haiti's land now is still so horrible. It is still enduring the ramifications of colonialism. These are all things you have to keep in mind to understand the rest of this video, and in general why Haiti is the way it is today. So of course, to bring it back to my point regarding how the slaves won, it must have been voodoo. I mean, 500,000 slaves, let's be fucking real. Even if you killed off half of them, there'd still be way more slaves than everyone else on the island. So I mean, you do the damn math. Now, another misconception is that illnesses such as yellow fever and other diseases at the time helped Haiti win the independence. That's fucking bullshit, okay? There's this whole thing where people are like, well, you know, all of the Europeans that were coming over to fight Haiti, they got sick, and that's how the Haitians won. And it's like, why can't y'all catch a motherfucking L? First, y'all try to make France look good, talk about, so, oh, we were inspired. Nobody was fucking inspired. If anything, it was a opportunity, okay? The France was beefing with everybody, okay? They were mainly trying to get all these territories from everybody in the goddamn world. So it presented an opportunity for the Haitians to revolt and get what they wanted. And then when it comes to everyone talking about how, you know, they were sick and that's how they won, definitely it helped because the Haitians were very, very strategic when it came to when they chose to fight. They chose to start fighting them in the rainy season, drawing them to fight in the hottest parts of Haiti. And of course, since the French want to fucking sit on their high horses in France and only come to Haiti to vacation and to make their bread, they don't know shit about the damn region. All they know is money, vacation, leave. So so they led them to the hottest part of Haiti, later on retreating to the coolest parts to rest. Meanwhile, French troops and all the other troops that they sent to fight Haiti were hot as fuck, dying, and you know, with their yellow fever and just of the heat, because Haiti is hot as fuck. Okay, so all strategy, baby. Contrary to what they tell us in elementary school, Christopher Columbus did not, okay, I repeat, did not first land in the Americas. He landed in Hispaniola, modern day DR, and Haiti. And it's really, really crazy how they constantly still fucking tell kids this shit. I might have to fucking around and homeschool my kids. I do not want my kids to learn all of this nonsense and then I have to like relearn them and unlearn the nonsense. Like, it's just, why do y'all keep fucking lying to motherfuckers? Okay, so of course that was in 1492. And finally, Jean-Jacques Dessalines, Toussaint Louverture, and all of the other founding fathers of Haiti did not go around massacring civilians and children and regular folk. Doesn't matter if they was white, mixed, or whatever. That is not what happened. I have no idea where people are getting this sensationalized story about Haiti's revolution and, you know, this white genocide, as a lot of historians like to call it, when in actuality they were doing what everyone else did when they gained their independence, which is fighting for their independence. I don't see anyone saying anything to the white people who have got their independence. America, there was lots of bloodshed there. I don't see anyone saying anything to any imperial country that got their independence and was fighting off any type of colonialism. But because it's a bunch of black people, we're just gonna say, oh, they massacred the white people. Shut the fuck up. And to add to that, they rarely ever touched any civilians. Most of the time they would go after people who were generals, people who fought in certain types of militias that were part of these imperial countries. Okay, it wasn't them just out here cutting off babies' heads and all this goofy shit that you're gonna hear. That did not happen. Sadly, when it came to the Haitians winning, there were a couple of white people that were still on the island that did not leave, that actually went to DR, and they were threatening Haiti from a distance. So imagine you get your ass whooped and then you go to the country next door and you talking shit. And basically they were saying, oh, you know, they're gonna come back, they're gonna destroy Haiti, they're gonna kill all the blacks and reclaim the island, whatever the case may be. And you know, Toussaint Louverture, Jean-Jacques Dessalines, etc. was like, oh yeah, well, we got something for that ass. So basically they were killing most of the people that were in charge, that had power. They weren't out here killing kids and shit. So now that we got all of that out of the way, let's begin. 1492, Christopher Columbus discovered Hispaniola while he was trying to find India. I feel like they probably tried to hide this because of all the nonsense that followed suit, but hey, that's neither here or there. Right after that, as you guys already know, he was of Spanish descent, so the Spanish had control over Haiti, and the Indians that were there, the Tainos, which I'm just gonna have to do another video that talks about the Tainos and the Arawaks or whatever, because there's actually lots of history that suggests that the Indians were actually black Indians. They were never like Indian that we know of today. Comment down below if you know more information about that, because I've been reading up on it and it does sound very probable. But anyhow, since a lot of the black population is now mixed with the Native American population, a lot of us will probably never know if we were truly Indian or black or whatever the case may be. But a lot of evidence does suggest that these Indians that we talk about all the time genuinely either did not exist or they were actually black Indians. Okay, they were black Native Americans, I should say. Now, of course, if you guys are not aware, the reason that we call them Indians is because sadly Christopher Columbus was trying to find India and just kept calling them Indians because he thought he reached India, when in actuality he reached the Western Hemisphere and conquered it as new land when he didn't discover shit. But yes, moving on. The Spaniards ended up taking over Hispaniola, and today we're going to be talking about mainly Haiti because DR has a whole completely different history. And at this point they had taken over the Native Americans and they made them slaves, and they forced them to mine for gold so much and so badly to the point where they literally killed off the entire Indian population and were forced to import slaves to do their dirty work. Now, fun fact, Haiti actually still has a lot of gold that is not able to be mined for various different reasons. That's probably gonna have to be another video for another day, but that's the reason why a lot of white people have invested in Haiti, the Clintons or whatever the case may be. It's because there's lots of gold in Haiti, but that's neither here or there. That's for a whole nother time. Another thing that a lot of people also have to remember that I honestly just found out and I never knew, all of us know that Haiti was forced to pay billions of dollars worth of money back to France for gaining their independence. However, many do not know that on top of that really hefty billions of dollars that they had to pay, they also had to pay an annual fee. And this really was horrible because not only only were they a slave country, literally having to start from the ground up with absolutely no money in the bank, but France actually bullied the fuck out of them, pulling up to them with cannons, faced at the damn capital, telling them if they did not pay this money or agree to pay this money that they would blow up the capital. We already know how problematic that is. And when Haiti gained its independence, it didn't necessarily become a country, it became the state of Haiti. And then Haiti also was separated, Haiti of the North, Haiti of the South, because you know, Haitians, we just can't get along, because at this point, like, I'm convinced, like, since the dawn of motherfucking time. And honestly, Haiti was not established as a republic till 1806. And when that happened, civil war broke out. So after that whole idea and situation was exhausted, they started realizing that, you know, sugar, cocoa, indigo, things like that grew really well in Haiti, and Haiti became the best and the biggest money maker for the French because they literally produced everyone's sugar. French is basically using Haiti as a gold mine. They're using it for a vacation spot, okay? They're not necessarily using it for anything that people can inhabit on. So they're not really understanding that they're importing more slaves than people to actually inhabit the island, okay? To actually invest in the island. All they're thinking about is work. And because of this, this is probably clearly their demise. 500,000 slaves, about 30,000 free, and then about 40,000 white. Where the fuck do you think this ratio made sense? It was gonna revolt eventually. They were very much so confident in the fact that they were able to break the slaves' spirits. They stripped them of their religion, they stripped them of their culture, but they never were the ones to sit down, lay down, and take it. Haiti slaves were always revolting since day one and causing problems. So much so that Napoleon was constantly sending troops over to ratify the Haitians, okay? To try to get us under control. So by 1697, France took over Haiti and renamed it Saint-Domingue. Of course, Christopher Columbus named it Hispaniola. So France came and named it Saint-Domingue. Now, like I said, Haiti slavery was so brutal, and a lot of slaves were actually able to run away, and many of them went all the way up to the north and other outskirts of Haiti, and these people were called the Maroons, and a lot of them are actually responsible for Haiti's revolution and why it was so successful. They were the main ones that revolted. I mean, let's be real, you broke away from slavery, you went to go live off the land. A lot of people in Haiti that lived in those areas, the outskirts, the north or whatever, are descendants of these slaves, and they are just highly thanked, because it's like, shit, if it wasn't for them, a lot of people probably wouldn't have been able to revolt as much as they did, or actually win the revolts that they did, because they did a lot of the planning. A lot of them are responsible for the voodoo ceremonies that took place. So shout outs to them, shout outs to all the Haitians, bro. Now you guys are probably wondering, was it just black people? Was it just, you know, the slaves that were revolting? And in actuality, no. So like I said, we already went over it, slavery was very brutal, so the black people already had a reason to revolt. But when it came to the mixed class, mulattoes, or the affranchis, or the free black population, they were actually very wealthy. Like, I'm talking about more wealthy than the white people on the island. A lot of the white people on the island, they like to call them T-blanc. They were like, you know, the lower level type of white people. They were teachers and stuff like that, like, you know, shopkeepers, stuff like that. And then you had the Grand Blanc, which were the white people that owned plantations. They were the head, okay? They were the top of the top, the creme de la creme. They were the ones that a lot of people kind of wanted to take down, but each of them actually had a reason to not like what was going on in Haiti. So when it came to the mixed class and the mulatto class, a lot of them, even though they made way more money than the white people, they had land, and a lot of them also owned slaves, which we already know is ridiculously problematic. A lot of them, I have to say, just gathering from my research, were very much so out for self, okay? I will say that I don't think that the way they were treated was fair, because it wasn't. However, I do feel like a lot of what they did, shit, back in the day and today, to be honest with you, is extremely problematic. A lot of them wanted so badly to be recognized by the French on an equal level, okay? All of the revolutions in Haiti started out because of equality. The blacks wanted equality. They wanted to eradicate slavery. The mulattoes and the free blacks, on the other hand, just wanted to be regarded on the same type of scale as the white people and the French. Okay, if you guys are not aware, France did not recognize anyone's citizenship on Haiti at all. So if you lived in Haiti, they did not recognize you as a French citizen. So that means you do not get French benefits. So of course everybody's mad as fuck, especially the black people, the mixed people that are free, bought their freedom, have land, have slaves, or whatever the case may be. They're like, how the fuck are we not recognized as citizens to you guys when essentially we're paying all of these taxes? Yes, France had the nerve, gall, audacity to tax these people but not recognize them as citizens. Where they do that at? That shit don't make no sense. And you already know white people don't like paying taxes. Shit, I don't like paying taxes. I might have been white in the past life, because y'all, I hate taxes. I really do. Like, I try my hardest not to pay taxes. Like, my fucking accountant, amazing. Legally though, legally. Seriously, they were not having it, because on top of them taxing them, and technically they weren't citizens, they were putting obscene tax on everything. So you had the white people that really weren't up there. They weren't poor, they weren't rich. They're kind of like a middle class that weren't able to afford necessities because of these ridiculous taxes that the French were putting on Haiti. And what was the motive for the wealthy white people, the Grand Blanc? Well, the Grand Blanc, they selling crops. They not allowed export to no one but France. Yes, France said, hey y'all, you could do your little crops, you could plant your shit, but pas qu'à voyer on yen lot boy, only France. All your shit come to France, nowhere else, okay? So you could imagine everybody's just mad as fuck, okay? You not being recognized as a citizen, you a slave, you could only fucking trade with one fucking country. Like, what the fuck type of bullshit is this? So many wars were breaking out, so many revolutions were breaking out. Everyone was mad. And when it came to the mixed class, I talked about this before in one of my other videos, a lot of them were actually forced to enlist in an army at a certain age. I believe it was 18, I'm not sure, quote me if I'm wrong. And basically this was a militia to catch slaves running away, whatever the case may be. You got your freedom, and then kunya, you have to enlist in a task force militia situation to catch your fellow slaves. And of course we already know what happens if you say no. So it was a really tumultuous situation, and all of this honestly probably could have been avoided if France was just a little bit nicer to their fucking colony. Like, it's really sad. Like, if they were just a little bit nicer, a little less harsh, wasn't importing freaking slaves by the fucking thousands, a lot of this probably wouldn't have happened. But since they know that Haiti was their money maker, Haiti was literally their bread and butter, they made sure to milk that shit as much as they could. They made sure that they were unfair as they could to increase the profit that they can make from the island. And this led to everyone being mad. There were some whites in the revolution, even though a lot of people don't really talk about them. There were white people in the revolution. Of course, we had the mixed class, which, to be honest, from my research, I do think that they were out for self. And of course, we had the slave population along with other nations that actually sent help to Haiti. That's probably gonna have to be another video in itself. But of course, we had the Portuguese, which I'm gonna get into a little bit later, but we had Venezuela that actually did send a couple of soldiers to Haiti in order to help in the revolution. So shout outs to my Venezuelans, okay? Was popping. If you're not aware, they actually do have on their flag certain emblems that do resemble Haiti's in honor of Haiti helping them in return after their revolution. So that's also going to be another video regarding, you know, countries that Haiti helped gain independence, because I feel like that's really important to know. There were various leaders in the Haitian Revolution, many that we already know. We're going to go over the regular ones today. I'm probably gonna have to do another dedicated video to just the leaders, because if I was to sit here and talk about the leaders all day, we would really have like a 10-part video, and I genuinely don't have time for that. So they're just gonna get their own dedicated videos, most likely, just like how the presidents do. We'll see how that goes. So of course we have Debunking. Now, he was actually of Jamaican descent, but was later on shipped to Haiti, and he did leave the most infamous Bois-Kémon ceremony in August of 1790. Quote me if I'm wrong on the year. I may be wrong on the year. But you guys know that whole ceremony. I don't think we have to go over that. The ceremony was a pretty big one. It was a pretty elaborate voodoo ceremony. A pig was sacrificed. And that is where you have the Loi Martin Boisseche or Piesche, who was actually at the revolution, who actually sacrificed the pig, even though historically it's always been known as Debunking or another, you know, voodoo priestess or priest that has done it. It was actually Marionnette Boisseche, and she has become a Loi. She's actually a very feisty Loi, and she's very mad because she has not got her recognition in the Haitian Revolution, and basically pop popping that shit off. That's gonna be another video. Women of the Haitian Revolution. They're probably all gonna get their own dedicated videos because they deserve it. It really, really bothers me how people never talk about the women of the Haitian Revolution whatsoever. There are so fucking many of them, and they deserve to be recognized because they was fighting hand and foot in this shit. Now, Book 1 actually accomplished a lot. He massacred lots of colonizers, destroyed so many plantations before he ended up dying. Sadly, he wasn't able to see the end of the Haitian Revolution, but of course, that's where Toussaint Louverture comes in, and this is a very interesting character. Again, he's probably gonna get his own video. So will Jean-Jacques Dessalines, Henry Christophe, Alexandre Pétion. All of them were involved in Haiti's revolution heavily, from being leaders to being lieutenants, so on and so forth. When it came to Toussaint Louverture and Jean-Jacques Dessalines, a lot of people kind of like put them together as like, oh yeah, they were the best friends, and that's not what really happened. Funny enough, Toussaint Louverture was like the MLK, okay? He was the Martin Luther King, and then Jean-Jacques Dessalines was like the Malcolm X, okay? Toussaint Louverture, you can say, was influenced by French's revolution in a sense. Toussaint Louverture was actually a free slave. Louverture, along with the free blacks and a lot of the mulatto and the wealthy class, wanted to reason with the French, okay? They were like, posez, on parle, let's talk to them, let's reason, let's offer this. Jean-Jacques Dessalines, he was just like, for what? Burn it down, break that shit, massacre, swing that motherfucking machete. Like, it was a very drastic idea of how to go about gaining Haiti's independence. Everyone was on one accord, right? We have to get the French out, they can't fucking rule. So when it came to that, everyone was on the same page. But when it came to how to go about it and who would basically take over after, I don't think anyone really thought that out. They were just like, we need to get the French out, we'll worry about all of that shit later. Louverture was like, peace, peace, peace. Dessalines was like, nope, kill, fuck the peace, violence by any means necessary. So a lot of times there was lots of friction there. Now, sadly, Toussaint Louverture was later on captured by the France and put in jail, where he later died in France in 1803 after being in prison. Now, the tea on that a lot of Haitians, you know, say is that Jean-Jacques Dessalines kind of ratted him out and told the French his location so that he could be captured. Comment down below if you guys think that's true or not. That's one of the most common rumors that a lot of people, you know, say. But nonetheless, after Louverture was gone, Dessalines did rise to the occasion. Like I said, violence, and the violence did ensue. Now, you guys are probably wondering, how did these like battles work? Like, how were they actually executing this? Well, for the most part, we had to start with the biggest people, right? The people that worked on the plantations had the upper hand. So they literally would communicate the message to all of the slaves on plantations, like, okay, all the slaves on blah blah blah, you're going to revolt at this time, and then slaves over here, you're gonna revolt at that time, slaves over there, you're gonna revolt at that time, and then you would follow suit with the mulatto class and the free blacks that would revolt in their respective professions. By each location that was revolting, they would take over those pieces of the country. So say if they had revolts all in the north, they would clearly run out all the white people, they would leave, boom, Haiti got this little part. Haiti in the south, this what y'all gonna do. Before y'all give them they bouillon or whatever, you gonna revolt so we could take over. So the slaves would do their part, the mulattoes and the free blacks would do their part, whatever whites were involved would do their part, boom, take over. It was plan, revolt, execute, take over. By 1792, they had already controlled a third of the island. They was moving fast. They wasn't fucking playing with nobody. This shit started in 1791. So France wasn't happy. They was like, what the fuck is going on? How the fuck are we losing to a bunch of slaves? Well, you should have been nicer. You shouldn't have imported all these slaves on the island. Maybe you would have had some sort of upper hand. Of course, France tried to send over some reinforcements to restore some order, but that did not work at all. If anything, it probably made things 10 times worse. All sides were rebelling at this point, and they literally were losing control, and they did not know what to do. Now, between 1792 and 1798, about 100,000 slaves were lost in this revolt out of 500,000. 24,000 whites were lost out of 40,000. The shit is dwindling. It's not looking good. Now, around this time, this is where Napoleon decided he was gonna try to send the Polish over there to wrangle up the slaves. Now this class act amazing. Now, funny enough, one of my best friends, she's actually Polish, and I always tell her like we must have met in a past life, because that's so ironic. When I found out about the history, I was like, Polish helped Haiti gain independence, and Polish actually still owns a part of Haiti today because of this. So essentially, if you're not aware of Polish history, I'm gonna tell you right now, if you go watch a documentary about Poland and its history regarding slavery, you know, just colonization and all types of shit, you might cry. So when Napoleon enlisted the Polish army to essentially help in taking down the Haitians that were literally running amok and basically winning the war or whatever, they did not take into consideration, they should have done their motherfucking research. Poland was going through a very similar, if not the exact situation with the Russians. So when they went over to Haiti, they were there to do their job. But when they started to talk to the Haitians and they started to see what was really going on, they were like, hey, we're going through the same thing. We don't think there's some crazy ass slaves that's just running amok for no reason. We know we relate to this. Like we've been prisoners of war and, you know, casualties of all types of fuck shit. So you know what? You give us some land, you give us some resources, we got y'all. So the Polish ended up joining the war. This shit, when I'm telling y'all, when I found this out, I was crying because I'm like, yo, he thought that Napoleon, où t'es pensé? Mais pas connaît, ou pas judge, okay? So Napoleon, he learned who George was that day. Clearly, he was fucking livid that the Polish went and basically switched sides, because like imagine you're literally on a boat with these people for days on end. This not no damn cruise. There's not no goddamn JetBlue where they on a plane, they just get there in 2.5. They were on this boat for a long time together, eating side by side, strategizing side by side, only for them to flip and be on the Haitian side now. He was not happy. And what makes it worse is this is around the time where they were actually trying to buy the Louisiana Purchase in America, and that shit wasn't going well either. And what made it worse is he was actually sending ships over to America to fight them, but when he realized that they were losing the war in Haiti at the same time, he rerouted that ship and told them to go to Haiti to help fight, and they still lost. Crazy thing is, if you're from Louisiana and particularly New Orleans, a lot of them have this tradition where they actually tell Haitians thank you and you're welcome, because realistically, if it wasn't for Louisiana, especially the specific part that is Louisiana today, literally if it wasn't for us, they would have probably been French, okay? Like America probably would have been like half French, half America, or half UK, whatever. History would have been just drastically different. And it's also a thank you, because it's like, you know, you guys served as a very good distraction for us. They also say you're welcome because later on a lot of Haitians did seek refuge in Louisiana, hence the heavy Haitian influence in that state. So moving on from that, of course, things got really hectic and France was losing. And on top of that, they're in wars with multiple people trying to be bullies and take people's shit. While the French is having their revolution and basically finishing it up, Haiti shit is still strong. Okay, and everybody's like, what the fuck is going on? Why is this shit still happening? Like, what going on? How are they winning? How is this still a thing? What the fuck? Now at this point, everyone in the other countries start getting scared because the news is getting back to all of the slaves that, you know, clearly there's a slave revolt going on and they're winning. And now a lot of other people are becoming fearful because all the other slaves are starting to revolt. They're looking at Haiti like, hey, if they can do it, we can do it too. We got this shit. They're having their own revolts. They are literally having their own mini revolutions, and all of these slave owners in different countries don't know what the fuck to do. So clearly they're genuinely mad at Haiti, but no one would have imagined that they actually would win the revolution. Now, of course, you have Pétion and Leclerc, which were also mulattoes who joined and basically added fuel to the fire. By, I believe, 1802, that is when Leclerc actually died of yellow fever, which is crazy. Like, there was lots of people dying left and right just from the disease, let alone the war. So it was really bleak. The war had really kicked up because, like I said, the entire premise of this was to eradicate slavery. That's what they wanted. They didn't want to see slaves anymore. They wanted black people to be free. And at this time, France sat there and like re-established slavery in Guadeloupe and Martinique. And it's crazy because they're still French territories, which I would love to get into their history because I've actually never looked into it, but that really fueled the ending of this war because they were really like, what the fuck, like we gotta stop the shit, we gotta stop it right now. So that's when things really kicked up. That's when a lot of the mulatto actually really joined into the fight, and that's where you have the Battle of Voodoo. I hope I'm saying that right. I'm probably not. And you know, for the most part, that was the battle that won everything, and they were able to get all of, well, most of the white people off the island. And after this is where they declared everyone that is on the island, that is left on the island, is black, point blank period, and you are Haitian now. If you still here, you're one of us. We don't believe in slavery, whatever the case may be. And I believe there was actually a UK student, I do not remember, you guys can quote me on it, don't quote me on it at all. The original Haitian Declaration of Independence Constitution was actually found like way later after the fact. And it's so sad because the shit that's happening in Haiti right now, or has happened in Haiti since they gained independence, is just very depressing. What's even worse after this is Dispelling, you know, of course he won the war with all of his people, whatever. Haiti won, and he declared himself emperor for life, and we already know that's where the dictatorships start and all of that goofy shit. But of course that's going to definitely be for another video, and we're going to end this video right here. In the next video, we're going to be talking about the aftermath of the Haitian Revolution, what happened, how did people perceive Haiti, why were people so upset, you know, things like that, because this shit was just a lot, and it really saddens me to see what they had to go through afterward. And it honestly has a lot to do with why Haiti is the way it is today. With that being said, make sure you guys comment down below. What did you think about this video? What information can you add? What is one thing that you did not know before that now you know? And of course, let me know if you want to go get some merchandise or whatever. And do not forget to share this video with your friends. Like, share, subscribe, do all that. Get me to 100K, and I'm gonna see y'all next time. Bye.